broadcasting live out of a basement in Appleton, Wisconsin. You're tuned into Fox City's Core on WCZR Code Zero Radio. We're the show that gives you an opportunity to call in and be a part of the show. Our call-in line is 920-358-0795. Core. It's a great honor to welcome back the great Frank Anderson, who's going to be a special guest co-host today. Frank, how are you doing? Welcome back. One of the legends, Fox City's legends. You also, not only are you musically connected, you are a filmmaker, an animator, and you also run Wisconsinology.com, which focuses on the history of Wisconsin.
That's right. It's also Fox City centered.
Well, this is going to be a fun show. I'd like to welcome our guest today. My next guest is a singer-songwriter originally from Kinsley, Kansas. He's released over a dozen albums. He's toured with artists such as Soul Asylum, Matthew Sweet, and They Might Be Giants. 1994, Rolling Stone magazine named him Songwriter of the Year. His latest album is called Back on the Road to You. I'd like to welcome Freedy Johnston to Fox City's Core. How are you doing, Freedy?
How you doing? I gotta say, it's really nice of you. The intro. It's I gotta change that bio though. I don't want to be known at my death like Freedy Johnston opened for 5 bands.
Well, obviously there's more than that,
like,
right?
No, it's like, I just really I'm changing my bio. I'm gonna be a painter anyway. But no, thank you very much for the very flattering intro and the montage of all the songs.
Well, you've written, how many songs do you think you've written lifetime?
Oh, not that many really. Other songwriters are more prolific than me. So I'm pretty slow.
But is that right though? Over a dozen albums? I know
no,
some
not
of them
a dozen.
Some are live, right?
9 or 10. 9 or 10. But I'm putting together a lyric book. I'm trying to get it done while I have time, while any of us have time. But I'm writing out the lyrics, like I did for the Kickstarter campaign for the last album. And I've found about 50 songs that I claim. There's a lot of songs I don't like anymore. So, but 50 that I'm going to write out, which is a big book. I know.
Any examples on the ones you don't like? I'm curious.
No, just sometimes it's the lyric content. I just got over it, or it just and that's you're right. That's to do that.
So the book thing sounds interesting. So would you have a detailed rundown of why you wrote the song or memories of each?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good idea. It started, as I said, when I did the Kickstarter campaign. I offered lyric sheets as a bonus, and so I did a lot of them. and a friend said, "Well, you should do a book of those, and then do the chords above, the lyrics, because just like everyone else, no one." If you see the sheet music of my songs, the guitar chords are never close to right. Not even. Isn't that right? I've never seen.
A1.
There's just anyway. So I want to be able to get the right chords for some of the songs, because I love it that folks want to play my songs. I'm a very lucky guy.
Do you ever go on YouTube and just look for the tutorials? I know there's lots of people showing how to play songs like Bad Reputation.
Oh no, I don't know about that. I'm very scared of that kind of thing. I don't want to look at that. But if people do, that's wonderful. No, I'm really kind of I don't know why that bothers me a lot, but it does. I mean, it bothers me to look at it. I'm glad it's there. But like the Aimee Mann video for Darlin', I can't look at that, even though I love her, and I'm really highly impressed by the art, her artwork. It's too much for me to look at. And I can't listen to my own music, and it's just too emotional, that thing that she did. It's too much for me.
Well, you're known for your songwriting, and you do have not only are the lyrics sometimes sad, but you also have a very emotional voice that can really at least squeezes my heart on some of those songs. And that's really, I think, one of the unique things about you as an artist, that you're able to, your voice can evoke those emotions.
Well, that's awesome, man. Thank you. I've been doing it a long time, and I don't treat my voice very well, I'll tell you that. But also when I started out, I got lots of advice to not continue. So, like your voice is so terrible. When I started out, it was pretty bad. So it was just a matter of continuing to try.
Well, let's go back to the beginning. So you were born in Kansas, and I know you were in a rural area, right?
Yes, I was born in Edwards County, Kansas. Edwards County, which is out west. It was Kiowa Indian hunting grounds, basically. That they didn't even live there. The land was so poor, and so when the Santa Fe came in and was marking out the land, they're like, all right, if you want to live there, that's fine. I don't know why anybody in their right mind would live there. So that's kind of the county I come from. It's really sandy, but I'm not talking down my home at all. I was just there this summer. I come from rural Kansas, and I think it's a pretty common story that people who come from small towns, you try to make it big somewhere, so you have an extra impetus to make it. I've met a lot of musicians through the years. They're like, oh yeah, I come from, tiny little town in Mississippi. It's very common. So I think it's more common than someone coming from a big town, maybe.
When did you get the itch for music? Do you remember the first thing you heard that really felt really soul stirring?
I don't know. I've always been, I was a big, I grew up in the 70s and 80s. So I was a huge consumer of classic rock. And I secretly wanted to be a musician, but I wouldn't admit it to anyone. And, I would fantasize about, when I listened to like a band, I'd fantasize that I was on stage singing. It was really, it's okay now at this decades later to admit that, but at the time it was really embarrassing. And then I realized, well, I could. My brother, my brother, who was younger by 2 years, got a guitar, and he was in the school band. And I was like, wait a minute, my younger brother got a guitar. That's not going to stand. So I had to get one myself, and I ordered a guitar through the mail from stereo distributors in Newark, Delaware, I think it was. And I started playing, just playing along to records. So that's when I started to try to, and I will tell you, it was a very long time before I did anything but just totally suck. It was just really a long time.
Were you
like way too many years to learn how to play a good G chord, that kind of thing. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Now it's like, you're going to start playing guitar? Oh, you poor thing, Good luck. And some people are fast, but for me it was a good 10 years before I felt like I could even, go on stage.
It's interesting that you were so immersed in classic rock, but yet your style was a singer-songwriter is what you ended up.
Yeah, I think what happened was, I know what happened was I'm really, what's the word for, monomaniac. I just get one record in my head. And I got that Elvis Costello record in my head when it first came out. And even, I didn't know that was a style of music that was common, the kind of British pub rock thing. And I felt like this is my style of music now, I'm going to do this. And so that's why I started writing songs like that. I don't know, the first songs I wrote with my buddy Pete and Rob in my one semester at the University of Kansas. We did a little cassette on 2 cassette machines, we over to back and forth. You could make it about 2 or 3 generations before it started to suck, but we did a thing called 3 Guys Out for a College Education and some stupid name like that. And we did all these jokey songs. Of course, they were just dumb as shit, just really juvenile. But that exists somewhere. And so that was when I first tried to record, and after, it happens a lot. I hadn't really had my heart broken, or broken anybody's heart. I wish I never had, but I stopped writing joke songs after that. That's what I'm saying. I started writing sad songs then, and it's just, I don't know what to say about it. You can't choose you really can't choose what kind of song you write. At least I can't. One can, but I can't. I have just a way that I do it.
So the first label you were associated with was Bar None?
Bar None in Hoboken. And I'm still associated with those guys. I still love them, though I have all my material back from them. I'm putting out Can You Fly on vinyl in May. I'm really happy about that. Reissuing it on vinyl and CD.
But yeah,
those guys were really they were there in the early days.
Were you doing before that? Were you doing self-recording? Did you have a 4-track?
I had a 4-track, and so that's what I didn't really know what I was doing. I was like, well, I guess I'm looking for a record deal. I don't know. I had a day job that I really liked, and I kind of regretted leaving. But I made up cassettes of these songs, and what happened? To be fair, I had gone into a recording studio in Kansas City with 3 friends of mine and done live recordings of the songs, and that's what I was shopping around. I guess I was shopping. At the time I was like, I wasn't admitting to myself that I was looking for a record deal, and yet I was, clearly, because when I got a call, I was mainly trying to get somebody just to put it out, and then not sign a contract. I think I was so naive. So a friend of mine, I will call her a friend. I guess I will. Anyway, a friend of mine worked at the New Yorker, and her friend at work, her husband was Michael Azerrad, a writer at Rolling Stone, and she was playing my cousin was playing my cassette at work, and Julie was like, "What's that? That's kind of cool. Mind if I give that to my husband?" It's like, "Sure, I don't know. It's just my cousin, And that's how I got noticed, He called me up. He was like, "Hey, I really like your stuff." And I don't know what to say about that. You can't choose. You can't make people like your music, is what I mean, It's like they're going to like it or not like it. So I was so happy that somebody liked my cassette. I'm really naive about it. It's like, wow, you really like it? It's like, yeah, I like it. Why did you make it if you didn't want people to like it?
So did any of those songs from those cassettes make it onto the first album?
Yeah, I think so. Some of them did. I don't remember it. A lot of them didn't. I mean, any songwriter who's listening to this, there are 10 or 15 or 20 songs from the early days that I don't even remember, They were just not very good, and they're gone. You have to do that.
Well, of course, record deals now are looked at a little differently than they were back then. But when you got that first deal, was there a lot of financial incentive there?
No, it was, to be very honest, my first deal was a real joke. And the first, there wasn't much hope, honestly. I did a record, and if you've heard my first record, my voice is kind of, and it was an okay effort, but there wasn't a big anything going on. And I signed a contract that later on, when I did move to a major label and they were renegotiating, they were like, "You signed this thing?" It was like, it's like almost one of those things where it's like, "Here, we'll give you a Cadillac and you give us everything," that kind of thing, But anyway, they didn't know. I realized later, Glenn, who runs Bar 9, is just kind of using boilerplate, that's the story of signing up with a label and then having to. I want to be clear about it. I made one early record that, it wasn't really that, whatever. It came out, and then I, for some reason, turned the corner and I started writing really good songs. I shouldn't say that. I started writing better songs, and the next record, "Can You Fly," was a real step forward, and I'm still very proud of that record. And so that was the Bar 9 story. The "Can You Fly" record is the one that Butch liked, and other people liked, and that's what got me a deal.
Yeah, so you ended up getting signed to Elektra, and I believe the story is Butch was working on some stuff for Sonic Youth, or somebody, a producer, somebody was playing some of your stuff, and it kind of caught Butch's ear.
Yeah, John Sickett, who worked with him, they were doing that Sonic Youth record with the washing machine on it, whatever that's called. And Sickett was being really nice. He was playing VV some of my stuff, and so that's how it happened. I was the luckiest guy in the world. I still am, but I was the luckiest guy in the world at the time to work with Butch Vig. Good God!
What was your thoughts when he reached out to you?
I just want to be clear that whatever I'm projecting back in memory to that guy, I have no idea who that guy was. I'm completely different guy. I don't understand what he was thinking, what he wanted. I just don't. So I want to be honest about that. I would do everything different now. So I can't even imagine what he was thinking. But I got by that way, I got by by continuing. I don't know what am I trying to say. I just didn't give up, I guess, And I was very naive. I thought, great, I got a record deal. Everybody gets a record deal. No problem. Yeah, this is great. Oh, I'm working with Butch Vig. That's fine. Everybody works with Butch Vig. And I don't know why I had that attitude. It just it didn't seem like a big deal, but of course it was. It was a massive deal. It was the biggest deal. I became, from going an office guy, and this local dude in New York who was way below a lot of other bands to being a guy who was, on the damn VH1. And that was a real shock for me. It really screwed me up, kind of, and it was a shock to my friends back home too. They're like, "Oh my God!" First of all, they were like, "Oh my God, you got your teeth fixed." But anyway, I hope I'm not talking too much, Andy.
So, Frank, do you remember the first time you heard of Freedy?
Oh, sure. Butch gave me a cassette.
So it was around that time that...
Yeah, I played it in my car, and it was right away. It was great. He told me he was working with a folk singer, so I had the wrong idea right away.
So we know Frank likes to rock. So, I mean, but what stood out to you right away, the voice or the songwriting?
All of it. Well, it was a real songwriter. Like he said, you either are or you aren't. Some people get there, but right away. You get one listen, right? One listen. Yeah. 10-second rule. Is it now? I believe it's a 3-second rule.
It's a 3-second rule.
But back then, and I'd hear to it, Is this going somewhere? Is this something, Sure, all of it. All of it. It went somewhere.
And in that album, you started recording it in New York, at a studio in New York?
This Perfect World. Yes, we. Well, first of all, when they asked me one day again, I wanted to stress how bizarre this was. This world existed where I went to a nice midtown lunch with the label, and they said, "Who do you want to work with?" It's like a little kid. It's like Butch Vig. It's like Butch Vig. It's like, yeah, I want to work with Butch Vig. And they're like, okay, we'll try it. I swear, I can't believe I got away with that. I didn't even pay for lunch, Wait a minute, I paid for lunch several times, didn't I? It's still probably being recouped in my advances. Anyway, they contacted Butch. And Butch was, the reason, you can ask BB about this, but I know he wanted to do my record because of Can You Fly, and because he wanted to do a different kind of record. And so that I benefited from that. That he wanted to do this kind of acoustic driven singer-songwriter record, and I was the guy he chose to do that with. And I realized that it was a big step for me. I mean, come on, that record has propelled me into a lot of folks' turntables and minds, and I can go to a coffee shop in a lot of places, I swear, and if I just say Freedy Johnston, are you Freedy Johnston? It's like just in the middle of nowhere. It's like, wow, somebody in Georgia just knows my name at a coffee shop. That's pretty strange.
And I cannot shop at Pick and Save without hearing him.
It's so that
and 2 songs, not just one.
That's a good thing, I guess. It is a good thing. It's just really, I wish I could be more big-headed about it. I wish I was a better star. I'm not very good at being, and I'm not even just able to talk about it very much. I will say this, that I'm, as I said, a different guy, but I'm in a very good place now. And I'm making a new record in September, and somehow at my age, something happened last summer where a friend passed on, and somehow it made it was the end of the sadness. I've had 6 months of just joyous gigs, and I don't know what it is. All I can say is that I'm a very don't worry about me. I'm okay. I think a lot of people were worried about me a couple years ago, but I'm fine, and I'm very lucky, very fortunate.
Well, I can't wait to talk about what you have coming up. But first, I still want to get some stuff about Perfect World out of the way. So when you were recording that, you didn't have all of the lyrics for Bad Reputation written at the first studio.
It sucks. I'm trying to really fix that. For the next record, I have 10 songs. You can only do 10 songs at a time for the publishing reasons. So I want every word done this time, Like the last record, I had one song where I was finishing it. With Perfect World, I was doing several songs in the studio, and that's just not good. I hated it. I hated the process. But I did it. I would go away for an hour, write some lyrics, come back, sing them, go away for an hour. And Butch was very patient.
It was interesting because it's at the old Smart Building he mentioned. You locked yourself in the bathroom for quite a while.
Yeah, I did. I was trying to finish some lyrics, and I was just like, getting really... I don't know. When I was younger, like I said, I was just much more, manic and angry and whatever the hell. Whatever, everyone is.
And what is that song about? Because I've also read that the lyrics were quite different from what ended up being on the album.
The original song was totally different. Yeah. That's one where I don't know what it's about. Butch early on made the point that, a story will be made by the listener no matter what you put out there. And so if you kind of have a general direction of the lyrics, don't worry. They'll build the story. So with Bad Reputation, I was like, well, I have a general thing here. That's enough. And so, yeah, everyone's got their story about this, or this perfect world. All the interpretations by listeners are much better than my first idea of the song.
When you were working on those two songs specifically, did you know how great those two songs were right away?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that's the way I think. I'm always very. No, I'm not the guy to say that. Maybe somebody else said that, but I'm very down on myself in the studio and hard to work with. But I do know that This Perfect World had totally different words. It was called Have Pity. Just a completely different song. And I'm glad I changed them. I've changed, and that's there's a philosophy of songwriting that whatever your first idea is, or poetry writing, first idea is the best idea. Well, sometimes, but if you're the songwriter, it's like, no, you can put a new body on that frame and it'll be fine, it'll run just fine. So I really try to be a little more loose with the songs, and the meaning will be there. I'm working on a new song, and I just did some lyrics the other day. I'm like, I don't really know what that is, but I always think about interviews with my heroes that I actually kept when I was in my 20s, of all these clip outs from like Musician Magazine and Rolling Stone of interviews with like Tom Waits, Elvis Costello, Neil Young. And I remember Tom Waits saying, I often, or maybe most of the time, write lyrics and I'm not sure what they're about until the next day. So I've been trying to do that because the brain is doing a lot back there, and I think the songs will benefit from me lightening up the reins a little bit. I'll say this, I don't have anything to say to the world. I mean that in like a very honest and coded and very sincere way. It's like, I don't want to hear what anyone else has to say, and I don't want to say anything, right? So that's why I'm afraid to write any songs almost. I'm just letting the emotion come out, and they're just kind of, they're love songs, that kind of thing.
So
talking about reality right now is not productive for me.
Tell me about your songwriting process. Are you typically just noodling around on a guitar to find like a chord that stands out, or do you go into it with
I guess I've done it long enough now that I can say that, yes, I have legitimately learned a system. There are out there songs, and every year about 4 or 5 of them will come to me, and it's always at a time when it's inconvenient, but I know it when it happens, and I grab the phone and I'll go in the bathroom even or something, and then I'll know and then I'll work on that for 2 years, but the groove idea and the lyric idea come out, and I can't predict that. I've tried to just sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write a song now. It's like, it's kind of like trying to come up with an image. Music is, the muse is looking at me like, you can't just summon me, I'll come when I want, and so that's that kind of vibe. And so that I just came up with one last week that I was very happy with. It's like, oh, wow, there's a new groove. Often they are very old, too. I'm working on a song that's 25 years old at least. I'm finally going to get it on a record.
Do you think, as far as the time, like back when Perfect World, you were all over the place. Like there was like a flash where you're in Kingpin. You had the songs and the movies.
That record did me a lot of good, man.
I mean, did that had to change as far as the venues you could play, the offers?
Oh yeah, no, I had my 15 seconds there. It was great. I did a couple tours. It was fun. There's just no. I don't have a lot to say about it because it was so quick, and it was very much, paid for, all that stuff. So, it cost a lot of money to get in people's faces, and so I had a great time while it lasted. Of course, that's not the common story. That is the story. Everybody has that story. Sometimes you're a Rolling Stone, sometimes you're other bands, but really, not really. It's not the way it works.
What was your reaction when you saw Kingpin for the first time?
I worked on Kingpin, so I saw it. I was working on it before it came out, and And I recall, and I'm fine with Pete and Bobby hearing this. Like, I didn't think it was going anywhere. When I was doing, I was like, oh, you guys, I don't know if this is funny enough, you know? I didn't say that to them. But I would now just like totally eat crow when I realized that, how funny it is. And I will say this again, I don't want to like be self-deprecating or criticize my past self, but man, I was over my head. Wow. I mean, I was like drowning over my head. And I feel bad about that. I think they realized that when they hired me, but they couldn't fire me. So it's like, it could have gone better. But I had a helper from the music supervisor office. He actually knew how to write music, and he knew how to, you know, he could write out all my scores and stuff. So I made it through with his help. But boy, that was very lucky. Kingpin has done me a lot of good. And I love the movie now.
Do you guys like Kingpin? The people
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You know, I guess it's long enough ago I can gossip about it. They were making the movie, you know, or they just made the movie, and Bill Murray was really a problem. You know, I love Bill Murray, but I guess he's very, whatever. I have no criticisms of Bill Murray, but it was not working out. And so he said, you can't use me on the posters, you can't use me on the promo and whatever. And so he's not on the poster, he's not on the promo or anywhere. And it's just so sad because he's really key to the movie. You know, it's when you see the poster, it's like, well, wait, where's Bill Murray? He's not there. So I was sad to hear that little bit of politics.
You must have saw that in the theater, I'm guessing.
I never saw it in the theaters. Oh, that's right. No, I never saw that in the theater. I've only seen it on TV. That's funny. I will say, you know, the best thing I got out of all of it, you know, I'm just a dude now, but back then I had that Kingpin thing, and I was staying in LA for a month working on music, and they put me up at a beachfront hotel in Santa Monica. You know, come on, man. I was very lucky. And one night, the Farrellys call me up, and they say, hey, man, come on, we're going out drinking. And I, what? So, yeah, we're going over to... They're going to a friend's house. So they pull up, and in the front seat is Woody Harrelson, you know, on the passenger side. I'm like, oh, hello, sir, you know. And, you know, Woody Harrelson, he's the most noble guy in the world. He's like, hey, dude, good to meet you. Like your songs, you know. So it's like, where are we going? So we're going over to Carrey's house, Jim Carrey's house. So, I mean, this is name dropping, but I got to mention the story because this is the one time it ever happened to me. I'm like, really? So, yeah, so... we go to the liquor. Let's stop at the liquor store. This is Woody speaking. Let's go to the liquor store. So I go into a liquor store with Woody Harrelson. I'll never forget that, man. It was just like people notice you when you're, you know, it's so fucking funny. And he was just walking around like a normal dude, you know, picking a case of Heineken and stuff, and just never even. He just said, "Hey" to everybody. But so that was pretty fucking funny. Sorry for the cussing. Sorry, Bob, for the cussing. But we went to Jim Carrey's mansion. And I just can't tell you. You know, the gated mansion thing with the pool and the tennis court. And he was in this, his wife was away. I don't know who he was married to at the time, that, you know, the actress. He was with his guy, his body man. They were in one of the small off living rooms just doing bongs and listening to music. He had this house that was like 40,000 square feet, and he was off in a little room. And that's where we all hung out, too. It's like, what? Weird, you know? And we walked around the house, and he'd say, look at this 16th century French tapestry I just bought. It's like, yeah, wow. You know, because he's like a little kid. I mean, he was really natural about it. It's like, look at these Disney cells I bought, man. Those things were expensive, but aren't they cool? Like original paintings, you know, of like Mickey and stuff. So that was my one night. I'm glad I had it. That's my story. I hope that didn't seem like I was like, well, I was name dropping. What the heck, I did.
Well, thank you for sharing. And did you get any inspiration from that visit? Did that make its way into any of your songwriting?
I wish it had. I don't think I could sing about that. It's just something that happened. Just being around guys that are really, I get starstruck as much as anybody. You know, I met Jim Carrey. I was like, oh man, I don't know if I can even, you know, I guess I can meet you, you know. And Woody too, you know, so.
So you've had a lot of singer-songwriter type songs. You've had some songs that were also a little heavier, a full band stuff. As far as playing shows, do you typically prefer to play solo, or do you prefer to have a band?
Well, no, it's an economic thing. You know, I would go out on the road with a band, absolutely, every night. even if I'm doing, quiet stuff, it's just not feasible anymore. Unless, so no, I do the acoustic shows because I have to. That's why. I'm playing a Minneapolis show with a band tomorrow, but that's because they live there,
So it's almost like the Chuck Berry thing where Chuck would
just
fly
like the
in.
Chuck Berry thing. I'm playing a Portland show on the 15th of March with my band there. I have a New York band. I can play the City Winery. So I get to play band shows, and they do help. Like the City Winery, that makes it a really, like, people buy tickets, because of the band. But that's the reality of it. Luckily, I can pull off solo shows, That's what I do. Or duo shows with the great Frank Anderson.
Frank's been pretty quiet over there today.
Frank's got a lot to say about Wisconsin. There's much in that brain about Wisconsin.
So let's talk. This is a good point to talk about Joey's Song. You were on board, and for people that aren't familiar with Joey's Song is an organization that raises money for epilepsy research and to help families that were affected by epilepsy. Michael Gomoll started it after his son Joey was affected and unfortunately passed away. You were the ground floor on that as far as performing,
He is.
and it's grown like it's.
I was
huge.
the first guy that Mike, came to, and I was very flattered to do that. It's like, sure, I'll help you out, whatever you want. I didn't know what it was. It was in Chicago, I believe. I think it was. Anyway, and then the next year, there was one year I couldn't do it, the third year maybe, but I've done every one since, and heck yeah, I'm more than happy to do it. I mean, it's a beautiful thing that's grown now to, I couldn't even have imagined how it's grown. This year's show was so good, and
he did every part of it, including the comedy show on Thursday evening in the week long.
Oh, I played the comedy, yeah. But I am very honored. Always be one of the greatest honors of my life will be that I was the original Joey's Song guy. Absolutely.
What's your favorite Joey Song memory?
Oh, I don't know. There's been so many years. There's just too many. I think last year had a lot of them. There were just so many good times. But early on, the shows were much more chaotic, and things would happen on stage. People would fall over.
Songs would stop.
People would fall over on their back and stuff like that.
Well, and that some of the earlier shows had the original formation of the Know-It-All Boyfriends, which was a band that I'll let you explain how the Know-It-All Boyfriends started.
That's the cover band with that Frank is a part of. It's grown now. It's a much bigger band. But it started out at Chris Vig's, Butch's brother's New Year's party or Christmas party, I think, in 90, whatever, 5, 6, I'm not sure. Anyway, and Butch decided, let's start a cover band, and let's go to Nedrobos and rent tuxes. So we rented tuxes to go to Chris's party. And I got to tell you, I could get used to that. It's kind of pretentious, but I could walk around in a tux. It's a good feeling. You feel like Mr. Peanut. So we went to his house and we were playing on his son's toy drum kit that I had to sit on to keep the kick drum from moving. So I was sitting and playing guitar and singing. And right before we go on, there's 5 people there. The audience, Butch is we're in the kitchen. He's so cute. Not cute's not the right word. He's just such a real believer in music. It's kind of like youthful. His youthful exuberance is always there. And he was like, "Come on, guys, what's our band going to be called?" And I said, "Well, Butch, I had a cover band in Hoboken that broke up long ago. Not a cover band, a band that we only did 3 gigs. We were called the Know-It-All Boyfriends." "Okay, that's good. We'll use that." And so I recycled the band name from a band that I had with Chris Butler, and I okayed it with them later. They were like, "Okay, fine, okay to recycle the name." So now, 20 some years later, whatever, from 94 till now, 30 years, 30-year band. That's not even right. It's got to be later in the 90s that it started. More like 98.
Well, you guys used to do those early shows at Cafe Momar.
Yeah, we did those. Well, I was married, so that would have been 2003 even. We did the best show we ever did. If you want the memories, this is not Joey's memory though. Was the first Know-It-All Girlfriend show when we dressed up in drag. And this is appropriate to talk about today because David Johansen, Buster Poindexter died today. And so that was really, that was a really big deal. For some reason, we decided to do that. Jay was not into it, but my wife, my wife at the time, and Christy Jenna took me. It was like, maybe if you had an older sister, like they would like treat you like a doll sometimes. Mine never did. I would just say, like, I've heard stories like that. But my wife and Christy like, okay, we're gonna go shop, shop for you and make you a girl. I was like 40 years old, but it's like, so we went around Madison and they got me all, you've seen it, all dolled up, and it took hours. Like, that was a pro makeup job. Kat was like a pro makeup person. It took an hour, and I couldn't believe it because I really was embarrassed as shit. But then I saw the photos, like, hey, that's pretty rock. That looks pretty cool, So that's the best memory, was the Know It All Girlfriends show.
When those early shows were so loose, you guys are just
so
up there
loose
having
as
fun.
in we barely get through the songs yet, and we don't know all the lyrics. But that's changed. We have a teleprompter now.
Well, that was the first time I saw Fun with Adams was a band that from Green Bay that's been around forever. That was the first time I got introduced to Fun with Adams. They opened one of those shows.
Yeah, a lot of bands play the dudes in suits. We did gigs with a lot of bands.
Well, and so the Know It All Boyfriends started playing at the Joey song, and it was kind of still loose. And then
I don't know what year was. So I was doing it, and then I somehow talked Butch into doing it. I figured he'd say no because I had been every year asking everyone, on Mike's behalf, and I just couldn't get him in, like Marshall or Suzanne Vega or whatever. But Butch finally said yes, and that was really the. So I was the first one, but Butch was the catalyst that really made it possible to bring in, big artists. So.
Well, now Joey's songs evolved. Like today, this year was the Freezing Man Festival, multiple days, bands playing full sets.
Multiple days, and great bands. Portugal the Man, Nielsen, Trust, on and on. And
it was great seeing you do Bad Reputation up there with Vicky Peterson, Frank's up there, John Cowsill.
It's great.
John Hauer. I mean, you had just a ton of people up there.
It was the ending jam was my favorite.
Yeah.
It was just so great. And Brian from Silver Sun, I didn't want to leave that stage. I didn't want, but I got to say, it was later in the night. I'd had a couple cocktails. A couple times I left the stage like, okay, guys, good night. It's like, Freedy, we've got like 6 more songs. Like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, hey, how you doing?
So you like the multi-day format, having it go more than one day?
I didn't think it was. I gotta say, I kudos to Gomoll, to Mike Gomoll. I doubted it, but I'll absolutely admit that it worked. And now he's trying to make it a bigger deal. It's like I hope he can, but that's good enough for me right now.
Frank mentioned the Hodgson and White's Wisconsin Cheesecapades. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was great.
Freedy, well, there's a new comedy team on the scene. Joel Hodgson who created Mystery Science Theater 3000, and Wayne White, the famous artist who designed Pee-wee's Playhouse and the Smashing Pumpkins, Tonight video, so much more. Open any modern art book. Like I did at the Appleton Library opening, I opened up, art projects of cardboard. Open it up, Wayne White. There he is, right in the middle of the book, and with his giant cardboard creations that he does. But so talented, and a funny guy, and a
really funny
musician who loves the song Guitar Zan and can sing it like nobody's business. So
which is a dumb song, but he can sing it. Yeah,
it's in my top 10.
Yeah.
Especially the best part, the way Wayne White. I don't know who's familiar with Guitar Zan.
You wouldn't know it. Oh, Bob.
2 people.
There we go.
Jim and Bob.
Okay. Nobody can. There's a lead up to the chorus where he goes, "Get it, get it, get it." Builds like that. Wayne White does that better than anyone, and I felt it.
Oh man.
Well, anyway, it was completely ridiculous, but it went over well. And Freedy was on stage. He took I our special guest that night was Dr. Z. Anybody familiar with Dr. Z? Comedian. He wrote for The Simpsons for 20 years. Dana Gould. And he's...
He didn't make it.
He didn't make it. The fires kept people away from... they couldn't. They couldn't leave home. But he will be joining us. A new band was created, and it's all Northeast Wisconsin, by the way, except John Cowsill.
Except John Cowsill.
Of the Cowsills. And we are called Packer Country.
Oh, good.
I had a great time. And Freedy took Dana's place, and it was a wonderful night, but it told me one thing. Mike Gomoll is going to turn this thing bigger, wider. And it's Joey's song next year. I don't know what they're up to, but I know it's going to be big.
You need somebody like that to...
More money every year. I don't know what it was. Was it $500,000 this year?
It was over $500,000.
Yeah,
we raised over $500,000.
So come on, that's fantastic.
I always round up million.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, of course, you did something a couple years ago, Freedy, where you and Butch and the Know-It-All Boyfriends took a story that was written by a family affected.
Oh, yeah, we did that during COVID. No, it wasn't during COVID. It was more recent. Yeah, we did that. The Sing Me a Story project. Yeah, you saw that video, right?
Yeah, is that your work, Frank?
Frank did the video.
Yeah.
Train to Somewhere Awesome.
I think someone else did.
Someone else. Oh, man, you know who it was? It was Colin, I think.
Colin.
Yeah, but the Sing Me a Story is an organization. I don't know quite how the people get how they win the prize. You know, the best story that the kids write, and then they give it to musicians to write a song around. And so these girls had written this multi-page story, 5 or 6 that I luckily have a copy of, detailing just a fantasy trip with them and their dog on a train through the snow to Disney World. And then they come back just in time for their parents to get home. And it's just all this stuff that goes on. And we had to write a song about, and all the KIB, I have to admit this, this is true, the rest of KIB, don't feel bad about it, but nobody was stepping up, you know? And Mike was like, you guys, we need this song. And finally, Butch was like, what do you got, Freedy? And so Butch and I, you know, got down and I studied the song, and I wrote what I could from this incredible story. And it's on a train to somewhere awesome. And it came out really well. And we never could have written a song like that without the imagination of 3 kids, you know. So that might be my high point of the KIV, you know, so far.
So what do you think is harder to write, lyrics or music?
Lyrics. Writing lyrics is a terrible torture. I should never inflict that on anyone. It's really bad.
Well, and we were talking about John Cowsill before. You were in a project with his sister a while back.
The Hobart Brothers and Lil Sis.
Which I find it entertaining. The name came from the fact that all 3 used to do dishes.
Yeah, it started with John D. Graham and me. I lived in Austin, and he was in my band, my weekly band, and we decided to do a duo thing and write songs about our jobs in restaurants, because that's what I had done. And so the Hobart Brothers was born, the Hobart dishwasher. And then at one of the South Bys, because I was living in Austin for a while, Susan was there, and we saw her, and she has the greatest voice I've ever heard, the greatest female rock voice in the world. And I knew her kind of, you know, and she came over, and we were like, wow, do you want to join our band? You know, it's just, and she was like, sure. It was like, wow, you know, that's how it happened. Just like we were just so, we said, you want to be in our band? She said yes. And so that's how it happened. We got together and we did a Kickstarter campaign, and we wrote all these darn songs, you know, these very sad songs, because we were all going through terrible things. I was trying to get over my divorce. She was equally having trouble. I don't want to speak for her, but I know John D was. We're all better now, all 3 of us, but it was a time. And that record has aged really well, actually, when I listen to it. If you've listened to the CD version, it has all the acoustic kind of demo versions of the songs, and some of those are really moving, because I knew what we were going through, And the lyrics are, John Dee's lyrics are very, very heavy. Like that song, Almost Dinner Time, I can't even really listen to it without crying. But
is there any talk of you guys doing another project?
we've talked. We had a text message 2 or 3 weeks ago. It'll happen out of the blue. It's either Susan or me, or sometimes John Dee. It's like, what's going on? You know, but and so we'll let's do a record. Blah blah blah. So we wrote a song, or the start of a song last year, and we're gonna make a record. But it's literally sacrilegious. It's like Susan was talking about. We were riffing on the text. It's like, let's do a song about Jesus brushing his hair. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah, he's sitting in front of the mirror. It's like, I'm the most beautiful Jesus of them all. You know, one stroke. You know, it's like, oh God, we can't do that. But we wrote a song about Jesus being really into his hair and brushing it 100 times at night. And I swear to God, we're not going to actually record that. We'll get in too much trouble. But the three of us thought it was a really good idea. So it's that kind of thing. And it might be the Guitar Zan kind of a novelty thing that would take off. You hear that song about Jesus brushing his hair?
It's going to be huge.
But the lyrics are 98, 99. I mean, it's just funny as heck. But yeah, we're thinking of doing it, and the way we would do it is probably go down to Austin, you know?
Yeah, I was going to flip that photo over to...
Oh, what's this?
Bring
there
back
you
some
go. Now,
memories
where'd this original come from?
The interweb. I actually forgot to send...
Oh, wow. That really takes me back. That's really great.
I was going to send these over.
Huh.
When we were talking about the No Doubt Boyfriends in the early shows.
Yeah, no, that's a later gig.
There's Jay.
That's a later gig. When Jay's... Yeah, I forget where that is, but that's probably the... Well, I don't know where that is. Oh, that's the Momo.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a variety of shows.
See, you can tell. I mean, I'm screaming there, and I'm coated with sweat. So that's how those gigs were. I remember that show. I was playing a Les Paul through an AC-30 at the Momar, and that was very, very loud. So yeah, who is that?
Who's that?
Who is that?
I don't know who that is.
There's a mystery guitar player there. Anyway. Thanks for showing me that.
So I also wanted to ask you about, they've got some of your stuff at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Your first guitar that you used on your first 3 albums.
Again, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. They have a permanent Midwest exhibit. You're not supposed to take those photos. That's great. I don't even have a photo of it because they wouldn't let me take a photo.
No, you do.
Wow. But they said, we're going to put a permanent Midwest exhibition, and I'm like, really? And so they put Matthew Sweet, me, the Replacements, whoever, I forget who else. But it's like, really? Melissa Etheridge?
So
and one of our things, and it's going to be there, I think, forever. I thought it was just a temporary thing.
So they told you what they were doing, and then you sent.
Well, I was still like, what? Really? I mean, I didn't take it seriously. And like, yes, we want something from you. What do you have? And I said, well, I guess I could give you a guitar, my first guitar, and this is maybe a funny story. It is kind of. I had given this guitar to my brother, who lived in Oklahoma, and so I said, well, I'm going to give it to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I called him up and said, hey, Steve, I need you to box that Guild guitar up and send it to Detroit. It's going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And he said, what? That's my only guitar. And he's like, what? I said, I'll get you another one, man. I said, oh, all right. But I mean, it was back. He's kind of in a different head then. But it was like, this is kind of a big deal. I needed to do this. Like, all right. But it was just so funny that he didn't think it was that big of a deal. I love my brother so much. And he got another guitar. But so that's always going to be there. That's a very emotional thing to me. This guitar was stolen and recovered by the police. It had the Sharpie signatures of my favorite band from Kansas, The Embarrassment, taken off. And then that's Matthew Sweet, who put that, a bird there. And so the guitar has had a life. It's certainly had a life. And that's what I used on my first 2 records, on Can You Fly and everything. So, Can I actually have these?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
And you have a lot of friends in the music industry, like Matthew Sweet, of course. He had some bad things happen.
Yeah, I hope he's recovering well. You know, I think he's on the road.
Did I hear right that you were renting a room from Victoria Williams for
Victoria
a while?
Williams? Yeah, she has a ranch out there in Joshua Tree, and so she takes in wayward musicians. You know, it's a big place. She was very kind. She's like, yeah, you can stay here a while, Freedy. You know, it's good because you know she needs people there. You know, I mean, not needs them, but it's good to have company. Victoria's a great genius, you know, and she lives alone out there. So I lived there about a year.
You guys didn't get together to write any songs while you were...
No, this hopefully is enlightening and important. I didn't know Victoria that well before I moved in. I mean, I knew her. We'd seen each other, had a great time. But when I moved in, she was starting to work with a band, a guitar player and a keyboard player, and they would get together for rehearsal and write the songs. Like she free associates and writes songs. That's how she works. And I just had never seen anybody do that. And it was amazing to me. Like the first single they did was called Closer. It's a really good song, actually. But the reason it's called Closer is because they were setting up the sound. And Victoria's like, should I get closer? Closer, closer. And that's how the song starts. It's like, whoa, you know, and it's this spacey thing. So after a few weeks or months of living there, you know, she said, Freedy, I want to make a new record. I'm like, yeah, you should. Like, but it's really hard because all my songs are on cassettes. And I got to get a cassette player because she just sings ideas one time. And they're I mean, I'm just still fascinated with that. She said, even as a kid, she said, yeah, I'd be laying in the cradle apparently and just singing a song, driving my brothers crazy. So she's just a natural conduit of music. And that's totally different than the way I work. And so we couldn't write a song together if we tried, you know? And I couldn't even help her to make her record. I thought I could. It was like, oh, you got it. Because, you know, she needs to do it. She needs to listen to all the songs and do it herself. She now plays, and she rocks, and is a really good, has chops on, a Chinese qigong, you know, the 11-string zither. Mm. Oh, and she runs it through this kind of a big, like, Showman Marshall amp. Oh, it rock with like a... distortion and like a delay and wah, and it's really good. Like zoom, it sounds like two instruments, you know. So she's still doing it, and you know, she's got to watch it because she's had MS, you know, for a long time. But she's doing great. She's very healthy living. You know what I mean? She watches her health very closely.
Well, speaking of collaborators, your last album had some collaborators on it. It
did. You know, I got to say that's deceptive, and I'll just go ahead and blame the label on that. I mean, I love the label, but that's not right to put that sticker on the record. It's because they sang background vocals. When you see a sticker like that, you assume it's a duet. And when I saw the stickers, I was like, you guys, you know, it was just so... Yes, I had three of my favorite singers, three friends of mine, Susanna Hoffs, Susan Cowsill, and Aimee Mann sing backgrounds on my songs. It was just the tail end of COVID, so they did them remotely. And I'm very happy that happened, but it's not in any way like, it's just kind of like, it was a much bigger deal was made of it than is actually, except with the Aimee Mann song, because she really responded to it. And you can kind of hear her voice more than the other tracks, you know.
Well, there's a lot of great songs on this album.
I'm glad you like it. You know, I will say this: I'm not the guy. I've met other musicians like this and heard of them. I have trouble with my records, and so you shouldn't listen to one word I say about any of my music. And so I know that. So whatever I think of it, who cares? I know that people like it, and I'm proud of the songs, you know. So I'm glad for that. I'm glad I can still do it. One thing that was kind of interesting, and I do still think of it, and I'm especially making a next record, is more than one fan came up to me and said, Freedy, I really like your new record. I was so glad that you still had it in you. Because honestly, I expected maybe, you know, because eventually people making sucky records, like, oh wow, oh wow. It's like I don't want to even go there, you know. Like, still have it in you, you know. I hope so. I mean, don't you think that Neil Young? I mean, I'm not trying to say this in any way. Just an example. Neil Young could easily write his best song tomorrow. Really, you know. It could be that he's just that kind of guy. I always expected Tom Petty could have done that, you know. And so, I mean, it's comparing myself to gods. But what I'm saying is that, like, I've got it, still got it in me. I'm writing new songs and trying to do a better job.
Well, this album is full of good songs, and Darlin', the one with Aimee Mann,
Yeah.
she did the video for that. She did drawings that were used in the video, and it's such a classic Freedy, like, emotional song. I love it, and if people haven't seen it, they should go search for it and find it. What's the deal with the RV on the front or the trailer?
That's the house on the back is the house that I lived in, which was behind Victoria's place. I moved from there to Victoria's. And the trailer in the back is in the backyard. The trailer was kind of the extra bedroom.
So that would be like the guest house?
It's where I had all my guitar cases and stuff like that.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a favorite song on this album, Freedy?
Song? Oh, I don't see. Again, it doesn't matter what I like. But the ones that I remember being glad when I finished them were Brooklyn Girl and Darlin'. You know, but I don't want to go beyond that. The songs are what they are. I early on learned that from Butch. Like, whenever I would not like something, it became a joke. It's like, oh, let's keep that. You know, Freedy doesn't like it. It's got to be good. You know, and it's absolutely true. Like, Bad Reputation came out that way. Butch asked for another song. We were up in Woodstock, and it was snowy. Christmas time, nobody was there but Butch and me and the engineer and my manager. And Butch said, "You got any more songs?" And my manager said, "Play him that Talk, Talk, Talk song." I'm like, "Oh, I hate that song. Chris, why'd you bring that up?" He's like, "Oh, play it." So I was like in the kitchen at Dreamland. I know I got a bad reputation, you know. And Butch, I remember him right away saying, "That's the one." And I could say this, it's funny that I was so mad. I was so upset. And Butch and I, we are brothers for a long time. He got annoyed with me at one point during the record that I wasn't behind Bad Reputation enough. He had to really pull me around. But what happened was we recorded it that night. And so I said, "How are we going to record it, BB?" You've probably heard this story, but maybe the folks haven't. And Butch said, "Well, I used to play in a band called Spooner in Firetown. I haven't played for a year or two, but I could do it." And the engineer, John Yates, said, "I'm a pretty good bass player." And so there you go. And so we went out there, and Butch was practicing for an hour or so on drums. And at one point, he was doing the fill on the stop, you know, and doing the plop, 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 plop. And he was like, "Oh, I gotta make that more interesting." And this was the only time I ever produced Butch Vig. But me and John Sickett and I said, "No way. That is staying. That is as you know, simple and perfect as it is, you know, the plop, 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 plop." So that was my contribution to that. And I hope that I'm remembering it correctly, because we talked about that, about how your memories do shift. But that's pretty much what happened with that song.
This is kind of off topic, but what was your first, do you remember your first opinion when you heard stuff he was working on for Garbage?
Oh, no, I got to tell you the story about that. As far as my take on the music I was blown away. But Butch had just what did he finish before me? Was it a Smashing Pumpkins record? Pumpkins? Or something like that.
He's working on right before you. I know Gish was quite.
It had to be. It wasn't Nirvana, obviously. So it was something though that was keeping him from work. But then he was working on me, and he said, "I want to get this done, or I have to get this done in a timely manner because I'm working on a new band with my old Spooner friends, and it's like a dark, noisy band, and we're gonna find a female singer, and I need to start work on that." And so my project kept going because it was taking a long time, and I kept hearing about this, like, "Yeah, we got to get going on this band Garbage," and they're like, "We got to find a singer. Freedy, do you know any singers?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I knew this one singer from a band called Ethel Meatplow. Quite a name. But she was an amazing singer. And so I said, "Well, there's this girl, I forget her name even." And they called her up. And it's like, how'd you get my name? Like, oh, this guy said he liked your record. They flew her out from L.A. And I wasn't there for it. This is after my record, you know. Or maybe it was during it. Anyway, and she was like, she wasn't into it. They tried her out. And so that was the first one. And then however they found Shirley. But I was there. I was the guy holding Garbage back from being born. I felt bad about it. It's like, I know, Butch, I just another few more weeks. And then they went right into it. The poor guy. He didn't get any time off. I don't know why it took so much time. I think he was trying to get it. I mean, he's a perfectionist, and he kept working and working. You know, he wanted to make it perfect, no matter what it cost him, because he almost worked for minimum wage, months and months like that. You know.
So, did you work with Butch after this Perfect World, or was that the only thing you've worked?
No, we've never really worked together again. I can't afford Butch Vig. Seriously, I can't. I mean, he got paid when he worked with me. You know, so no, I can't do that. But I've worked with him on KIB. You know. Maybe he could work with. It would have to be BV being very generous, you know, with his time. But yeah, so that's the story there. I'm working with Kevin Salem from my Can You Fly days, and Graham Mabey, the great Graham Mabey, and Brian Dougherty, 3 guys from the Can You Fly record on this next record.
Do you have a target date for when this is going to be released? I
don't know about release, but we're going to start. We've firmly. I've told my brain firmly that we're writing toward a September 1 record start. So I'm every day working on another line. You know.
Well, you've done a lot of crowdfunding for releases in the past. It's
a pain in the butt. You know, I'm glad it's there. It's really a good thing. It's really a good thing, honestly, for people who are really public-minded and really, you know, involved with their crowd and really, you know. I've done too many of them, 3 or 4, and I won't do it again. It's just not fair to me or them because it takes so long and it's so hard. So no, this next record, I'm scratching up the money and making it myself.
Well, it's exciting, and you've been doing more streaming. You've been doing, for quite a while now, you've been doing sets on social media where you'll take requests.
I'm going to get back to it. I have to admit, I laugh at myself because I'm very comical. I did 6 weeks of shows in the fall. I was trying to do I'm still going to get back to it. I want to do a Tuesday night show. It's the only night of the week that isn't taken already. And I wanted, and I was doing it, but the technical, this stuff, for me, it really, really got me down. Like every show, the vocals and stuff were a little off. I mean, I got to admit, I went back in my room and cried a couple times. I'm a 63-year-old man, you know, and it's just like, wow, that hurt to see that I did a whole show and my vocals out of sync, you know. So that was rough. So I stopped doing it because I couldn't get any help. So now when I go back to Jersey City, I have a couple people who are going to help me, and I'm going to start the Tuesday night thing again with real professional help. But it's important to do. I've got to get a weekly show going. When I did that during COVID, later after COVID, I met many people who said, "Yeah, I was there every month. I was doing it every month, I guess." I needed those shows. I got an email, or the website got an email from a guy in New Zealand. You know, it's like, "Oh, you got to keep doing these. You know, I need them." I met an Australian couple at a show in Portland. Like, "Freedy, we love those COVID shows." So that's what it's for people way the heck away.
So besides the album, which will come out eventually, that you're working on,
it'll come out in, you know, you would say the early, February of 26, something like that.
And once that comes out, will you tour behind it or go on a big tour?
I will. I have a new manager, so things are a little more. No criticism. I mean, a different manager. My manager. Anyway, it's more structured. So yes, there will absolutely be a tour with a band, so that's going to happen. You know, again, I'll probably be the famous Freedy Johnston who opens up for blah blah and opened up for blah, but I'll probably be opening up for the Smithereens. You know, but at least I get to play. Garbage has been opening up for Alanis Morissette for 26 years. So there you go. You know, there's just sometimes that's just what you do.